Today, Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex stand at the centre of one of the most important cultural conversations of our time, not because they sought controversy, but because they chose truth over silence. No longer defined solely by royal titles or tradition, they are now parents, advocates, and global voices who made the extraordinary decision to challenge an institution that has existed for more than 1,000 years. Their journey is often reduced to headlines, but at its core it is a human story, one about love, protection, and the courage to speak when silence is expected. When Meghan Markle entered the royal family, she symbolised something profoundly hopeful. A biracial American woman marrying into one of the world's oldest monarchies represented progress to millions around the globe. It suggested a monarchy willing to evolve, to reflect the diversity of the modern world, and to move forward with empathy and inclusion. But behind palace walls, the reality proved far more complex. As public expectations grew, so did the pressure. Meghan has spoken candidly about how isolating life inside the institution became, particularly as she navigated pregnancy under relentless media scrutiny. Despite her role, her platform, and her visibility, she described feeling unsupported and unheard during one of the most vulnerable periods of her life. Prince Harry, deeply shaped by the loss of his mother and years of witnessing the destructive power of the press, recognized familiar patterns emerging. He saw history beginning to repeat itself, and he made a promise to himself that it would not. The moment that shifted everything came during Meghan's interview with Oprah Winfrey. In a calm, measured voice, Meghan revealed that there had been conversations within the royal household expressing concern about how dark her unborn son's skin might be. The words were not shouted, they were not sensationalized, but they carried enormous weight. For audiences around the world, the revelation was shocking, not because it was dramatic, but because it was quietly revealing. It exposed how race could be discussed casually, even clinically, within elite spaces that pride themselves on dignity and tradition. It reminded many viewers, especially people of colour, that bias does not always appear as open hostility. Sometimes it exists in assumptions, language, and unexamined beliefs. Prince Harry later explained that hearing those concerns profoundly affected him as a husband and as a father. For him, the issue was not about accusing individuals of hatred, but about recognizing how deeply rooted bias can operate within institutions, often without malicious intent, yet with real and lasting harm. In response, Buckingham Palace issued a rare public statement, acknowledging the seriousness of the claims. For an institution famously guided by restraint and silence, the statement alone marked a significant moment. It signalled that the conversation Harry and Meghan had initiated could no longer be ignored. Rather than retreating, Harry and Meghan continued to speak thoughtfully, carefully, and with purpose. They introduced a crucial distinction into the global conversation: the difference between overt racism and unconscious bias. This distinction was not an attempt to soften impact. It was an invitation to understanding. Unconscious bias, as recognized by psychologists and social scientists, refers to the deeply ingrained assumptions people absorb through culture and history. It does not excuse harm, but it explains how harm can occur even without explicit intent. And once acknowledged, it offers a path forward. Prince Harry has been consistent in this message. He has spoken openly about confronting his own unconscious bias and described that process as transformative. In his view, institutions, especially powerful ones, have a responsibility to undertake that same journey. Their advocacy did not go unnoticed. In October 2022, the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Foundation awarded Prince Harry and Meghan the Ripple of Hope Award, recognizing their commitment to racial equity, mental health awareness, and social justice. The honor placed them alongside world leaders and reformers who had challenged entrenched systems in pursuit of fairness and dignity. Kerry Kennedy, daughter of the late Robert F. Kennedy, praised the couple's moral courage. She emphasized that Harry and Meghan knowingly confronted one of the oldest institutions in British history, fully aware that doing so would invite criticism and backlash. Yet they spoke anyway, she said, because remaining silent would have conflicted with their values. At the New York City Gala, where they accepted the award, Harry and Meghan made it clear that their work was not about division, but about accountability and growth. They spoke about compassion, equity, and the responsibility that comes with privilege. Days later, their Netflix documentary series offered further insight into their decision to step away from royal life. Rather than attacking individuals, the series explored systems, media dynamics, institutional rigidity, and the emotional toll of constant scrutiny. It provided context, not vengeance, and humanized a story often reduced to sound bites. In early 2023, while promoting his memoir, Spare, Prince Harry clarified his position during interviews that sparked intense discussion. He explained that he had never explicitly labelled the royal family racist. Instead, he reaffirmed his belief that the comments about Archie reflected unconscious bias. For some critics, this clarification was mischaracterized as a reversal. In reality, it was a continuation of the same message Harry had been expressing all along, one rooted in nuance rather than accusation. Harry stressed that acknowledging unconscious bias is not about blame, but about responsibility. Once bias is recognized, growth becomes possible. What disappointed him, he explained, was not that the conversation happened, but that it was not followed by meaningful institutional change. He spoke of missed opportunities, opportunities to modernize, opportunities to lead, opportunities to demonstrate that even the most traditional institutions can learn and evolve. When asked about the future of the monarchy, Harry has consistently said he believes there is a place for it in the 21st century, but only if it is willing to listen, reflect, and grow. Not as it has always been, but as it could become. Throughout this journey, Meghan has remained a powerful yet often misunderstood figure. Her willingness to speak openly about mental health, isolation and identity resonated with millions who have navigated similar experiences in elite spaces where they were expected to assimilate without support. Together, Harry and Meghan have redefined what leadership can look like in the modern age. Leadership, they argue, is not about preserving image at all costs. It is about protecting people. It is about listening when harm is raised. And it is about choosing progress over comfort. Their story is not one of destruction but of challenge, not of rejection but of responsibility. Today, as conversations about race, mental health, and institutional power continue to evolve around the world, the impact of Harry and Meghan's choice remains undeniable. They pushed difficult discussions into the open. They challenged silence with honesty. And they demonstrated that even the most powerful traditions are not beyond reflection. Their journey continues not as royals bound by protocol, but as human beings committed to compassion, accountability, and change.